Okay, here we are. I know what you're thinking. Where the have you been? I'm not gonna start like that. Okay, it's been a while. It's good to be back. We're gonna try some different things. I definitely disappeared for a while. I was having some bad data, bad SD cards, bad microphones, bad GoPro footage, batteries dying, just everything you could think of trying to make a video going wrong, went wrong. Um, So I've been gone for a while. Also, COVID hit. We have to travel usually into the States to race. So with nothing being around in Canada, I got 2 hours I could drive, 2.5 to an airport race that was 4 times a year during COVID, back to 2 times a year during COVID or after COVID. So logistically, I can't drive 16 hours to Toronto to do some no prep racing every time. Uh, I got to go to the States. So COVID shut the borders down, kind of slowed us down a little bit. Uh, we did go faster with the car than ever, so we did pick up, but we definitely wrecked a lot of shit over the last 2 years, and you guys are missing out on all that stuff because I don't know. I've been working. Uh, so in this video, I'm gonna try and do this kind of setup from now on. It's easier for me to just set a GoPro up in the garage, actually do some work instead of walking around trying to plan out what I'm going to explain. So hopefully this format kind of works, because then I can just sit back when I got time. The short story of it is I have an old ass aluminum block full filled with concrete that has no compression ever. So we have 35 psi cranking compression pretty much 90% of the year. So I put the motor together with fresh sleeves beginning of last summer after we switched to Holley Dominator with EFI. Sorry I missed that video. It was a good wiring video, but so we switched over. I had a bad injector and put a hole in a piston, which led us to putting another sleeve in, but then also noticing that during cranking compression, when checking for the bad cylinder, 35 psi. I started the year 180 psi, 35 by the end. Gas ports in the pistons, I'm pretty sure, is the only thing that kept that motor running, because it would push the ring against the cylinder as soon as it would fire up. Because most stuff won't run on 35 psi cranking. So that was a little bit of an issue. The other issue at the end of the year was I was matching my boost pressure in my coolant pressure. So if I made 20 pounds of boost, my cooling system was 20 pounds of boost. If I made 30 pounds of boost, cooling system, 30 pounds of boost. So we were lifting heads, pushing boost into the cooling system. The block's full filled. I still run water through the heads. So we had issues. End of the year, pulled it apart again. I noticed that the head studs in between cylinders were cracked. It cracked thread certs, so this thing is just wobbling everywhere. The sleeves all got pulled out again. I ground out the ones that were cracked. There was only 6 cracked this time, so we're making improvements. Last year, before I put the new sleeves in, I fixed 16 cracks in that block. So the block's been ground out, welded. There's a picture of the crack that you can see once the sleeve's been removed. So I pulled that thread insert out again, ground it all out. I filled it all, re-centered the hole, put a thread insert in. So I made a tool that would guide the drill bit because I'm in the backyard. I'm working out of the garage like most people. This is the tool that would guide the tap so that the tap would go in perfectly straight. And once that was all done, then we're ready to heat up the block. So Dart wants the block put in an oven, brought up to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. I do not have an oven that fits my small block Chevy. I thought about putting the block in the barbecue, but we are also in the middle of winter in Canada, so the barbecue's been put away. So next best thing is Tiger Torch. So Tiger Torch worked pretty good, but I kind of only got the block up to about 220. But at first you'll see here, the block was only at about 170. So at 170, when I tried to push the first sleeve in, it definitely wasn't hot enough. So I do have the sleeves in bags right now sitting outside. So you'll see me dip out a frame, sitting in the snowbank. So to keep the sleeves cold. They also sat out the night before, just so they're cold. After welding the bores, they are no longer straight. So welding pulls, pushes kind of thing. In between the cylinders when you're welding, you're on the edge of a circle. So the bottom of the bore stayed straight, but the tops did not. So I brought the block to the machine shop, and R&R in Thunder Bay was able to true up the top of the cylinder to match the bottom. So there's still a couple low spots, so you'll see me, I put Loctite in there. So the first one, temperature difference wasn't enough, got stuck. So the first picture was the original sleeve puller I built, and then that second one is the hydraulic ram style that I switched over to, which is much easier than trying to crank threads. So I pulled it back out, getting the block hotter now. I was actually able to get it to about 220, which helped a lot. So put the 518 Loctite back in there, and just the stuff will fill like 10 thousandths of gap. So just to hit any lows, try and support the sleeve. It's about a 1.5 thou crush on that sleeve into the block. So this is how the sleeve should have went in. I actually got lucky on that sleeve too, because where it stopped at the bottom, if the block wasn't hot enough, it would have been stuck at the bottom there. So I would have had to press in the last inch. The second sleeve went in the way that it should have went in. Once again, more Loctite, running outside, grabbing sleeves, pushing them in. They go good. And then second problem. And panic sets in because it's not going in all the way. So I grabbed the nearest thing, which was the giant board, and just started beating on it. So small block Chevy. This is a true small block Chevy, not a giant bore space small block Chevy that some guy claims. It's still small block Chevy. This is a standard small block Chevy. So the bores are so close that the sleeves would overlap if the top of the sleeve was the same size. And they have to cut flats on the side so that they can butt up against each other. So when you're pushing the sleeve in, if you cock the sleeve to the side a little bit, the next one will have to cock the same amount for the flats to line up. there's like very little play that you have there. So the last one, when I pushed it in, I thought that it was landing on top of the other one after I hit it with the hammer, but it was actually straight. But the piece of wood just wasn't working, so I had to flip it, press it in, and it pressed in. It worked. So then same thing on the other side. The other side went easier because first side's always the hardest, and then you learn from your mistakes. So then the only thing left was the sleeves protrude into the bottom of the block where your rod swings and your crank throws swing. So you have to take a die grinder and grind back all the excess material so that the block is flush where it's got to be. It's just Mac Tools long shank die grinder with a carbide bit in it, and just reach down, and where the sleeve's hanging over there, you just grind it back so it's flush with the actual bore on the block, and you can see where it's been clearanced for the rod throws there. So once that's all ground back, then the block goes back to the machine shop, and they have it. You can see my main cap area there where my caps walk from everything moving around, but that's a whole other issue. The mains are straight, that's all that matters. So blocks back at the machine shop. They're gonna R&R machine shop at Thunder Bay, help me out all the time. Carl's gonna deck the block. We're gonna leave 2 thou protrusion out of the block on the sleeve from the deck height, so it gives it a step. And then we machine the receiver groove, and then the head gasket pushes into that and steps down. It gives it a little bit of like a double wall to grab onto. They're gonna deck it, and then they're gonna bore it, and then they're gonna hone it, and then I'm gonna wash it, and I'm gonna assemble it. So that's where we're at with the block right now. I got new pistons, new rods, new rings, new head gaskets, and this year I actually plugged the holes in the bottom of the cylinder head. I made plugs on the lathe, pressed them into the head, so now if the head does decide to lift, we shouldn't pressurize the cooling system at all, because it's like a dry deck setup without it being welded. So I could actually get those plugs out of there half easily. So if I go back to a block that needs water, like a solid iron block, then that would be the plan. But thanks for watching. I'm gonna try to keep popping these out. If you subscribe, it'd help, because otherwise I'm making these videos for 40 people to watch.